Hello, wonderful audience. This is me, Maryam Zulfiqar TrainingWali, once again back with another amazing interview. And today's the episode, I'm having a very amazing guest with me on my show, and his name is Jeffrey Snow. So let's talk to him and request him. First of all, Mr. Jeffrey, I would really thankful to you. You are the part of this interview, and thank you so very much for accepting my invitation. I request you please give the introduction of yourself so me and my audience can know about you.
I am a retired senior intelligence officer. I started my career as a Peace Corps volunteer many years ago in North Africa and Central Africa. After that, I finished up my college degrees. Make sure your students finish up their college degrees. I have both my bachelor's and my master's. Go for the master's if you can. It makes a difference. And then I went to work for some private businesses, spent a lot of time overseas, working in various industries. I was in India selling irrigation equipment. In fact, there is a large irrigation system someplace in Pakistan. I forget where it is now that I visited. Been to Pakistan a number of times. Anyway, so I did that and then went to Greece. And then after 2 years in Greece, I went back to the US for 3 years and got more education in telecommunications management. After that, I went back to Abu Dhabi, where I was responsible for monitoring and selling telecommunications equipment, not equipment, technology, the integration of the telecommunications networks. And then from there, I decided to try my hand at playing in the CIA. So I was in the CIA for 5 years, I believe. I was an operations officer. I had a great time serving my country. Probably doesn't mean as much to you as it does to other people, but I can assure you that the people in the CIA, the working people, not the political leadership, but the working people are the best that this country has to offer. They do a fantastic job. I left there in 2009 and went to Thailand for 3 years, came back to the US, and then from there I actually went back to Islamabad, where I was head of security for the US company that was building the US embassy. So I wasn't responsible for the embassy security, I was responsible for the private company security and getting the several hundred workers into the work site every day. So I did that and came back, went to Uganda for 3 years and worked again in security. I've been back in the US since the year 2000, still working in various areas of security.
Wow, that's amazing. You all the time to be the protected the people and the country of yours. That's really nice about you. The first question, when I go to your profile and read about you, how a CIA officer can be an author of different books. How was it come to you, and how did you start it?
Well, my book, I don't know if I can show it or not. It doesn't always. Oh, there we go. Humint for Humanity is my book. And for me to write a book that talks about anything that I did while I was in the CIA requires them to approve it, and they did. The book has been approved by the CIA, so I don't give away any secrets. But I talk about life and what life was like with some of the many places that I traveled to and some of the many wonderful people that I worked with. So I did that. I wrote it. It talks about many of the places that I visited. Many Americans do not have any idea what life is like outside of the United States. Many of them don't have any idea what life is like outside of the very state that they live in, much less outside of the country. So I wanted to try and write a book that talked about many of the places that I've been to. I give you one example from the book. Is I talk about Lebanon. I'm sure you're very familiar with Lebanon simply because of the location where you live and where Lebanon is. And I compare Lebanon to Whitney Houston. Do you remember Whitney Houston? The fantastic singer, man, when she came out, could she sing and dance? She was phenomenal. Well, Beirut is very similar to Whitney Houston. When earlier on, Beirut and Lebanon was called the Pearl of the Mediterranean. You had a mixing of cultures, you had a lot of freedom. You had Turkish culture, you had North African culture, you had Iranian culture, but all those cultures, plus it was a French colony. So it all kind of got blended together, and it made Lebanon a really, really great place. Unfortunately, in about 1985, all that came to an end when the various, call them whatever you want, groups moved in and took over Lebanon. And it hasn't quite been the same since. And they continue to fight the wars with Israel and the other people in that part of the world. So that's why I compare Lebanon to Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, as I'm sure you know, died of a drug overdose. She basically took too many drugs and drowned in her bathtub. So I try and bring that home to people. Very few Americans have ever been to Saudi Arabia or to Lebanon or to Pakistan. So the purpose of my book was to try and color in at the 5-foot level what life is like in the different places that I have lived.
That's amazing. That is a totally different side of yours. Like a CIA officer is an author, and he wrote a very wonderful book. That actually means a lot. And my next question is about when a security officer has to move around the country, or other than the different countries he has to visit. So what your experience, you visit lots of the countries, and which the countries you fascinated a lot, and about which thing, what is the specialty of that you actually attracted to that country?
Well, I did the math one time. I think I've been to 33 different countries, either lived in or worked in or traveled to. Um, One of my favorite countries is Thailand. Thailand is a very open and friendly country. They welcome everybody because they like those tourist dollars. It's a very modern country. At the same time, they have their own political struggles, as I'm sure you're aware. When I was living in Thailand, um, you still had King Bupi, I think his name was. He was the longest reigning monarch in the world. He passed away while I was there, and so there was a lot of turmoil, political turmoil, but not commercial turmoil, not economic. It didn't affect the tourism at all. People kept coming because the country knew that they can't afford not to have the tourists come. So it's a fascinating country. The people are very kind. The food is very good. The beaches and the scuba diving is wonderful. So I really enjoyed Thailand a great deal. But again, it all goes back to what are you looking for when you go to a country. I lived in Abu Dhabi for 5.5 years. Abu Dhabi is a very easy country to live in. It's expensive, but it's easy. They don't get too bogged down in residence visas. Of course, you have to go through a process. Don't take that wrong, but it's not an unforgivable process. When I lived in Greece, it was very, very difficult to get the residence permit. In fact, my now ex-wife received 2 deportation notices. So, just because they were being the government, and the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing at any rate. Whereas living in Abu Dhabi was very easy. You showed up, you obeyed the laws, you pay your rent on time, and it was very good living there. And it's a very nice place to live. Very expensive, but very nice.
Okay, that's nice to know about it. You're also a speaker. You are the global security consultant as well. So, from intelligence lessons to public or corporate leadership, what mindset shifts are essentials?
These are not new terms or new phrases that I'm saying. You have to prepare for the unexpected when you travel internationally. you have to prepare or be prepared. What happens if you lose your passport or your passport is stolen? What happens if your wallet is stolen? Do you have copies of those documents? Are you carrying your original documents on you, or do you leave the originals in the hotel safe and only carry photocopies with you? So that, if you get stopped by the police and they want to see your passport, you show them the photocopy and say, I have my original back in the hotel. And if they're really being difficult, they'll take you to the hotel. They never, ever, ever do that. They're just trying most point to check on you. But you want to be very careful what you take with you when you go out on the streets. This is especially true if you're going to be enjoying some of the nightlife. Let me just put it that way. Because if you overindulge, you will be the target for pickpockets and every scam going, and you'll get back to your hotel. You're lucky if you had your clothes on. So you have to be careful doing that.
Okay, I just got to know about this new thing that I never knew about it. Okay, what leadership mistakes did you witness in global operations, and what did you learn from their mistakes?
Probably the biggest, most common mistake is not having a good understanding of the negative side effects of a decision that a leader may make. So if they're going to implement a policy that may make sense at the leadership, at the senior level, but at the working class level, if you don't have working level buy-in and understanding, then the policies will not be properly implemented. So you have to be sure that you properly distribute the idea. You have to be sure you get the feedback. I'm not saying that the working class has to agree with the policy, but they need to understand it and understand the reasons behind it. And that is a fairly new phenomenon within the last, say, 10, 15 years, where leaders cannot simply say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. They have to reach out to the implementers and to the people who are going to execute their orders and make sure that everybody understands the reason behind them. Because if you don't have that understanding, then two things will happen. One, it won't be implemented at all, or even worse, it will be implemented incorrectly, so that you have the negative side effects and not the positive effects that a leader is hoping for.
Got it, got it. Okay, as a public speaker and you're providing your consultancy to the different security officers, as a speaker, as a trainer, what's your method for turning complex and sensitive topics into very easy to learn method for the audience?
I've always taken things back to the definition. Even when I was a college student and I was talking about some of my overseas experience, because I'd already lived overseas for 3.5 years when I went back to college. And one of the things that I learned early on was you go back to the definition. What is the definition of what you're trying to do? What is the definition? Let's just use a simple one. What's the definition of a security officer? Is it to arrest people? No, that's not his job. His job is to provide security. So you take things to the definition. What does the word mean? Words matter. That was certainly one of the things I learned in the CIA. Words matter. How you write your report matters. The words you choose to use matter. So you have to have a good understanding of what the words mean. And you have to, even someone your age, my age, whatever, you still have to go back to the dictionary and check the meaning of that word. So I had a reports officer that worked for me, and I forget the word now. I'll have to think about it, see if it comes to mind. But I went to her and I said, "Are you sure that you want to use that word?" And she goes, "Yeah, why?" I said, "Let's look it up in the dictionary." And where the first meaning was acceptable, the second meaning was horrific. And when she read that second meaning, she was terrified. What it was saying. And she automatically started talking to people back at headquarters about why they were using those words, et cetera, et cetera. So words matter. use a dictionary. Well, these days you use Google, but use the dictionary online to understand the meaning of words. And lots of times when you do that, you will increase your vocabulary. You'll find a better word to use because words really matter. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, someone's going to go back and read a document that the vice principal of the school, of the academy wrote, and they're going to go, wow, I wonder what she's trying to say. If they can't understand what you're trying to say, then perhaps you need to relook at your word choice. And I'm not criticizing you, of course. I'm just using you as an example. But you want to make sure you understand the meanings of the word, because many words have multiple meanings. And sometimes the meanings are in contradiction. So word choice matters, and that takes effort, and you have to use dictionaries or the internet, or you talk to your friend, whomever. You watch your word choice, use good word choice.
Nice to know about it, and you gave the example very according to me. That's good. My question is that now this is the era of artificial intelligence, and everybody runs behind this and grab the opportunities regarding this artificial intelligence. So, what's your takeaways regarding this artificial intelligence word, according to security point of view?
Artificial intelligence. So I'm old. When I went back to college was when computers were just coming out. And so this would have been 1989-ish, something like that, 1990, 91, I think, maybe 90, something like that. And I had people, I was in a class, I remember very clearly, who said, oh, computers are going to ruin the world. Well, ATM machines are going to put everybody, all bank tellers out of a job. Not quite. Because even technology, even AI technology, has to be written by somebody. Yeah, they say, well, AI can write its own script. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. It still has to have a person. It still has to have human intervention. So what this really means is not that AI is going to take away all our jobs. What it means is we're going to have to be retrained to the next level of technology. That's all it means. And we do it all the time. We've been doing it since, whenever. You used to have animal traction, still have animal traction in India and in Pakistan, where they plow with animals. Somehow we managed to transition to tractors and agriculture equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So we've transitioned through to the mechanical age in every industry. And we will continue to do that, only now the transition is to more computerized. Okay, that means guys like me got to learn how to use a computer. Well, I've been using one, I won't tell you how long. I've been using one a long time. So we just need to be able to do it. But look at the benefits that it gives us. You are literally sitting halfway around the world, and we're having a conversation like we're sitting next to each other. This is the benefits of technology, and we need to enjoy them and use them to our advantage.
I totally agree with you, because without this technology, it's not possible for me to meet such an amazing Jeffrey Snow at this time. So thank you so very much, technology, as well as you, Mr. Jeffrey. And I just want to know about the inspiration. What inspired you to join the CIA's Operations Corp? And eventually you become a senior and intelligence officer and then consultancy provider.
Well, I'd been in business for a number of years, and I just wanted to try a new adventure. I've lived, if you read my book, I'm going to show you the very last page, because the very last line in my book, let's see if that comes through. Let me figure out where it is. There you can see the picture. There we go. The very last line is, try havoc and let slip the dogs of adventure. That comes from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, only it's cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. I don't want war. I want adventure. So for me, I seek adventure in pretty much everything I do all the time. I mean, yeah, I still got to get up and clean the house or cook for my wife or do whatever. but we need to look for those things which stimulate us, stimulate our creativity. And for me, it's been travel, it's been adventure, and part of that, you ask, how did that get me into the CIA? Well, I was looking for my next adventure, and it was an opportunity to do something that is relatively unique. I forget how many at any one time are tradecraft officers, but it's not a lot. It allowed me to see things and travel places and do things that I would not have been able to do otherwise. So I enjoyed it very much. I'm very grateful for the service that I could provide to my country. And as I said early on, the people, the working class people, the reports officers, the case officers, the analysts, the accountants, everybody that works in that gigantic building in Langley, they're the best this country has to offer. So people should take great pride in that. They should ignore the media. The media just likes to make noise, and the politicians, ignore the politicians, but just trust that those people are working on behalf of the American people, and they are the best this country has to offer.
That's nice to know about your adventurous life. Can I know what actually the most uh, remember moment for you and the whole journey of CIAs, and that was the very tough and rough situation that you handled as a security officer?
Um, I actually, most of the challenges that I faced when I traveled as a security officer, as an intelligence officer rather, um, most of that was done very well planned and very well thought out. So that's the secret to successful travel, is make sure that you have your plans in place. Yes, you need to have a backup plan, but if you don't have a good plan to start with, you're not going to go anywhere. So whenever I travel, whether I travel now as a security officer or when I traveled before as an intelligence officer, everything is planned and documented. So the agency knew where I was going. They knew what hotel I was going to be in. They knew what my arrival and departure time was. They knew the flight number. They knew all of that. That was in part to protect me in case something went bad, and also so that they would know where I was, that they would know I was doing my job. So they very much monitored my travel status as well as that of my family when we moved back and forth. I always kept them apprised. And whenever I returned back to my home from travel overseas, the first thing I did was send a message that says I'm back safely. And I always got an immediate response back, said, thank you very much. We're glad to hear that.
Okay, that's actually nice to know about it. The last question I just asked to you that about lastly three things that you learned the whole as from the business, and then your adventurous life regarding the CIAs, and you want to address the youth who actually wants to be the part of this intelligence security officer or something into the business as well.
So my advice to someone coming up, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm
So
asking regarding the three things you need to explain about the business and the people who actually want to join your intelligence of company.
So the three things that you have to do: number one, you have to complete your education. At least a bachelor's degree in college. A master's degree is even better, but you have to complete your college education. Um, Many people around the world, not in the United States, speak more than one language. I'm sure you speak at least two because you speak fluent English, and I'm sure you speak. Do you speak Urdu? What's the other? What language do you speak at home? So that makes a difference. And learn the foreign languages. That investment in time, and it's painful. I'm not going to kid you. I'm terrible at learning foreign languages, and I've had to learn 5 of them in my career. So I know it's hard work, but in the long run, it will pay off, because when they pick people to do things, they're going to pick people who can communicate more than anything else. and being able to speak the language is critically important. Um, when we lived in India, my now ex-wife learned to speak Hindi because she could go to the market and she could ask. She didn't speak great, but she really did put out the effort. They admired that in her. She was clearly a white American, but she greeted people in Hindi. She would ask for, I would like 3 of those in Hindi, and they would tell her how much to pay, and she would pay them, obviously with dirham, but the discussion was always in Hindi, and they liked that. So she didn't get the best deal. She didn't get the local price, but she got the price of someone that they respected, at least as a foreigner. So learning the local language, even if it's just hello, how are you? That's very, very important. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Things like salam alaikum, alaikum salam. Things like that are all very, very important if you're going to be successful. And then finally, the third thing would be adventuresome, be willing to take risks. Many people in the world are not willing to take risks, and that's okay. My best friend from where I grew up lives in the same county where he was born and raised and where I worked on his family farm. So he hasn't moved more than 5 miles in his entire life. I've been around the world a couple of times. So that's his choice. God bless him for it. My choice was to seek out more adventure, and I did. And I would encourage people to seek adventure because adventure is not going to come to you. You have to seek it out. There are risks. You have to take the risks. How did I know when I landed in Tunisia what was going to happen? I had no idea. But I'm still in touch with the person who taught me Arabic when I lived in Tunisia in 1981, I think. I'm still in touch with them. So these are lifelong friends that you make.
Wow, that's great about you. It's really kind of a good thing. You know very well about this Urdu language as well. The two words that you speak, like Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum assalam, and all these things. That's nice. So, lastly, Mr. Jafar, I request you, can you please say goodbye in 3 different languages other than English?
Alainik is Arabic. Uh, French would be bonsoir, good night. What was Greek? I can't remember Greek. Well, you only get 2 out of me, not 3.
Okay, thank you so very
I
much. So
didn't know
nice
there
of
was
you.
going to be
I
a
really
test.
enjoyed. Okay, I'll stay connected to you, and lots of the things I learned from today. And the most important thing that you need to be very more adventurous. And the thing that I knew about you, that a CIA officer can be an author, and that's amazing thing about you. Thank you so very much for joining the show, and thank you the audience who are watching us live, and thank you so very much, everyone.